talk about something topical, something that's been going on in the game. And the biggest, for me anyway, the biggest talking point right now is some of the racism and death threats. Going out on social media, we've seen the racism against Lauren recently. We saw it against her brother, Reece James at Chelsea. We've seen it against other black footballers. We've seen some death threats against Mike Dean, a referee who's now asked not to officiate this weekend. And fans are going after players and their families. It is, for me, from my side, it's absolutely despicable. And we were talking off air. I grew up in the 70s with all this, and you'd have hoped by now people would have grown up, and this sort of thing would have been a thing of the past, but it's not. So I just want to get your opinions, Natalie, and how you feel about what's going on in the beautiful game.
Shocking, isn't it? I don't know what it is. People are locked in. There's all this Brexit, it's not going as well as people probably voted for, expected. But, for me, when even that vote happened, I was shocked and I was disappointed. It's just, Casey said, Lawrence told her it's water off a duck's back. And I know Casey got really upset, passionate about it, but it's true. It's true. It's what you expect. It's not right that you expect it, but I'm not shocked that people have those ideas, that people probably now feel free to do it because, like you say, Instagram, Twitter, they're not doing anything. So those people are going to keep doing it, and it's making the news, and people are probably thinking, oh, that's how I'm going to get famous or something. Because I just don't understand it, but I'm not surprised by it either.
It's a sad thing. The racism is one aspect of a barrage of abuse. There's all sorts of abuse at the moment, whether it's homophobic, sexist, racism, xenophobic, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, all sorts of abuse on social media. And so, look, social media is a great thing. Some people say we spend our time on social media, like your Facebook, your Instagrams, your Twitter, your Snapchats, and your TikTok. Yes, I've heard of TikTok. I might be old, but I've heard of TikTok. And on all that, and it can be it is a great way of spreading information and connecting with people, but it's also can bring out the worst in people who think they can get away with it because they hide behind an avatar. And the game, it's not just a problem within the game; it's a societal problem. It's a problem with society, and it just needs to be stamped out. I can't see it, not in my lifetime. But it's a shame that people who provide entertainment and such pleasure to us fans are getting this, as well as ordinary people. I mean, I know you've had some. I get plenty. Don't worry. People can't just be happy making fun of my big ears or my nose or my crooked teeth or my bald head. Do that, but don't make fun of people, color of someone's skin. It is bad, and let's hope that the social media giants actually do something. Well,
it's like you said, Ray. I've had it, you've had it. My dad's had it. Your family's probably had it. Everyone's had it. My mum's white. She's probably had it because she's with a black man. I've walked down the street with a white guy, and I've had it because it's a multiracial. And I just think, I'm glad that they're doing something now, though. This Twitter and Instagram, they're saying they're going to do something. But, it's taken for footballers to get it, for them to think, shit, sorry, but something needs to change. And I'm glad, though. Yeah. And I'm glad that they're coming out and saying it wrong.
One of the problems is obviously their business model is having someone like Trump, for all the bad stuff he did, he brought a lot of traction to Twitter. And some people say when Twitter was struggling, Trump coming into politics really helped them out. And that's one of the things where they'll allow people to hide behind fake avatars. And they allow people, once it's suspended, to come back. I won't go into who it is, but I've got one particular person who, after each time he gets banned, he comes back. Similar name, people know who he is. Sad thing is, people follow him. Hundreds of people will follow him. They'll go back, oh yeah, my mate's back. But he's out there doling abuse. And so I'm going to push this a little bit further. It's not just the people who are throwing out whatever sort of abuse it is. It's their friends who condone it by saying nothing. And when their mate gets banned and comes back and says, I'm back, follow me, and they jump on the bandwagon and follow him. And I've put it out there. I've said, this is what this ex person is saying. Look at how vile these comments are, and I don't have no interaction with them. And look at the vile, and so it's not just the social media giants should do something, but hey, it's money to them, and that's sadly what they're interested in. But it's the friends of people, and until people who are racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever, until their friends turn around and say what you're doing is unacceptable, I want nothing to do with you, then it's not going to stop, because people, it's not affecting them. It's affecting you and me and other people who've got,
I mean, for me, Ray, I was sort of saying yesterday, and I think a few people saw me say it and bigging it up, but I look at like Lawrence happened and they tweeted the Lioness account, but then I look at, say, and I know they're working to do things, but then I look at an England team, there's not one black face there. There's not one face that looks like me or you. And I mean, I know this is then going into some different topic, and they need to do a lot more, because then it just looks like it's systematic, but then you want to just jump out when it's, they call it this, jump out.
I will throw something back, because I had some people block me after the England team was announced, because people put out some comments about that, and other people jumped on it, and they went, in my opinion, they went down a path that they shouldn't have gone down, where they came out and said the England management are racist. That was the comment. I was aghast by that, because and no one said anything. And I have to be very careful what I say. I understand most, I'll say the word, most white people don't want to get involved, because it's a minefield, and it's easy to get yourself into trouble. It's like generally when there's sexism going on and misogyny, I'm careful about getting involved, because I don't want to say something wrong. So, but the problem is, the people I was chatting with yesterday, and someone blocked me, and a few people seemed quite happy with that person blocking me and saying stuff about me. They were saying, well, there's no black players in the squad, okay? And I said, look, it's a 20-player squad. They said, Demi Stokes, where's Demi Stokes? She should be there. How can Demi Stokes not be there? Where's Lauren James? She should be there. Why isn't Lauren James there? And it's like, hang on. Demi Stokes has been injured for a few weeks. Lauren James is injured. That's why they're not there. So you coming at it from an ignorant point of view, you don't know what's going on. Where's Nikita Paris? Well, Nikita Paris's club, Lyon, won't release her because of COVID. They don't want them to travel. So you've got to actually do some research and look at the background of this, because that's not so straightforward. Then they say, well, what about Babajide? What about, there was another player, I forgot who it was.
Emily Salmon.
No, the one I was talking about, it was, I'm trying to remember who the name of the player was now. I forgot who it was. But they mentioned 5 players. Well, 3 of them, as I said, can't play. Babajide is doing pretty well, but she's in the championship. But she still looks a huge talent. And the other player they mentioned, was it Doc Connolly? I can't remember who it was. They'd scored about 2 goals this season. I said, look, and there were 2 forwards basically, and said, look at the England forwards right now. You've got Lauren Hemp, you've got Chloe Kelly, Ellen White, and Beth England. And we've only got a 20-man squad. So there's only so many players you can squeeze in. And then someone said, well, Jill Scott shouldn't be there. We should drop Jill Scott and bring one of the black players in. And I'm thinking, no, I don't want people to be chosen just for a quarter. I don't want Jill Scott from midfield when we've only got 6 midfielders in the squad, and have a 5th attacker. I don't feel comfortable with that. So we just got to be careful sometimes about going, I think, too far. Some people, and I don't like people, throwing the race card when there's nothing there, because it does all of us a disservice and a discredit, and I sometimes think it makes it harder, because someone says, oh, look at them, they're throwing it out there, when there's nothing, as I said, you can't complain about Demi Stokes not being there. You can't complain about Nikita, and you can't complain about Lauren, because they're there for legitimate reasons. And then, you know, I just think it went too far. That's my personal opinion. And as I said, it doesn't help the cause of anti-racism.
But me, Ray, I think it's like you say. I don't think it's like this New England manager's racist or any of the staff are racist. I just think it's like the system. If you look at it, how many black players are in the WSL? Period. You know what I'm saying?
Not many.
Yeah, and that's what we need to work on building up. You know, there's about 13 black men. You know, and there's loads of black players in the Premier Leagues. So we need to look at why there's loads of black players in the Premier League, maybe, and not so many coming through in women's football. And that's a valid question for me to say why women's football not got as many black faces as, say, men's football.
Yeah. And then you have this other question: why there's not as many? Let's put them in inverted commas, brown faces. There are very few Asians in men's football, and I can't remember the actual numbers of the Asians or South Asians living in the UK and black people living in the UK. I guess it's not going to be massively dissimilar. Very few Asians, and I think that sometimes comes from the family. Because, you know, the family is the parents want you to be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist or an optician, and all that. That's what they focused on. Mine certainly were. That's the path they push you down. Or in these days we don't say push you down, casually, you know, cajole you to do that sort of thing. So we need to look at across the board about getting, you know, a cross-section of diversity, inclusion, and getting people involved in and saying to them, anything's possible, you know, and it doesn't matter whether you're, you know, and this is just across all the board, whether you're a boy or a girl or this or that, you know, anything is possible. And we just got to make sure the doors are open, you know. And when I was a kid, I never, you know, I still hardly any Asian footballers, men or women, hardly anything. And sometimes I do feel, sometimes when, and I'm not going to mention any clubs, but sometimes clubs have in the past been involved with black and Asian people. Just, it feels like tokenism, and that's wrong as well. If you're going to do something to help, you've got to really mean it. And I've seen on one occasion, I just thought that's the reasons for something to be done were the wrong reasons, and it wasn't that as much as an inclusion as we thought. Obviously, this something needs to be done, and it needs to be done soon, because the situation can't continue.